Plan with me for the month of July. I've chosen a fairy tale theme based on these red rose die cutouts that I wanted to use this month, and I thought it would be really cool to combine that with a medieval castle theme. So I started out by tracing an oval frame on my cover page and then going over that frame in gold marker, and I've also added some decorations to give a sort of picture frame effect. Then it was time to sketch out the landscape that I wanted to go in the frame in pencil, and I just did this very roughly. And then I colored it in using brush pens and the challenge here was to get the colors dark and moody and mysterious enough to match the very dark red and green of the roses, and it took a little bit of trial and error to get the landscape just the way that I wanted. Once that was done, I added the roses in the foreground, going over the frame a little bit, so it almost looks as if this were a window leading into a different world. And keeping with the whole medieval / fairy tale theme, I decided to use a Gothic inspired font to letter the words July 2025 underneath, and I also added these little swirls for decoration. This theme reminds me a lot of Sleeping Beauty or The Legend of King Arthur. On the left side, again using this Gothic inspired font, I lettered out a quote. I chose one by Saint Therese of Lisieux. I used some stamps to add these little corner ornaments and framed the page using a squiggly, imperfect black line. Moving on to the next page, we're going to set up our month at a glance. And I've already drawn out the grid for July, and then I started to letter in the days of the week, again using the Gothic inspired font. And then I numbered the days using a red mild liner. I left some space for decoration on the left side, and I'm going to add some roses here. And I added some roses into this little column, and this time I'm just going to be coloring the roses and leaving the leaves blank, so the page has a slightly more monochromatic feel, and it looks a little bit like a vintage fairy tale book this way. There was some space at the top, and I thought it would be cool to try and draw a princess looking out of a window or something like that. So I went and found a reference picture on Pinterest that would work for this, and then drew the princess first in pencil and then went over it again in black mild liner and colored in her gown a little bit as well as her lips. So this is quite an effective spread, even though I've only been using red and black throughout. On the next page, I'm going to be doing a July brain dump. I've seen this spread done by another artist and I really like it a lot, especially since I haven't been using habit trackers at all really in these past months, and my spreads just end up looking really sorry and empty by the time the month is through. So I'm going to replace habit trackers with the brain dump spread this month. And I've added little sections in different categories here so I can quickly note down any ideas. And opposite that, I'm going to put a July highlight spread. And then moving on to the next page, we're just going to do a very simple weekly spread, again using the Gothic lettering, and then adding a to-do list off to one side. And I used these simpler rose stickers on this spread. And now let's go for the final flip through. So this is my bullet journal set up for July. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.